Hi, everyone, and welcome to the virtual job search presentation about how you can stand out to employers while we're staying in, hosted by Fast Enterprises. My name is Erica Stearns, and I'm a recruiter with Fast. And I know right now we're all going through changing times. Things are uncertain, and for all of you, I'm sure your semester has completely changed, especially in terms of worrying about a potential internship or job. So the virtual job search and recruiting and interviewing is new for all of us. So we want to be a resource to help you through this uncertain time. And one question that may be on your minds is, should I even be looking for a job or internship? And you may be unsure of what's appropriate during these uncertain times. So while hiring may slow down, companies are still hiring. And not every company is going to continue to hire, but there are companies that are. So today we are going to go over our best practices for job searching and how these can be adapted to our new normal. With the uncertainty surrounding the current pandemic, it's hard to know how long this will last. And even if you're earlier on in your college career and not looking for a job or internship, we'll still cover tips that will be helpful to you in the future. While there are many changes going on, there are still many things that do remain the same in the job search process. So during this time, it's important to focus on what you can control and how you can set yourself up for a successful job search. If you're earlier on in your college career, this can be a time where you prepare yourself so that when it is time to look, you've already had some preparation. And here are a few things that haven't changed in the job search. You will still graduate. You may not get to walk across the stage when you were expecting to or attend your final classes, or maybe you didn't get to enjoy spring break like you thought you would. The end of your semester may not be what you expected it to be, but you're still finishing your courses and you're going to graduate. And that means that you'll still need a job. So companies are still hiring. There are still many positions that are open. And when you're thinking of companies that might be looking to hire, try to think outside of the box. So what businesses are still essential businesses? For example, at Fast, we're building software for the government, and one of our software solutions is for unemployment insurance. So while Fasties may not be working directly on site with clients right now, they're still working hard to make sure that the software adjusts to the changes that the state is experiencing. And you may not think of software as an essential business, but because we're building software for the government, it is. So think of companies like us and see if they're needing to hire, because they probably are. And if you're not familiar with FAST, we're a software consulting company working solely with government agencies. We work with more than half the US, typically at the state, local, and city level. We also work with 3 provinces in Canada, and internationally we have seven clients at the federal level. And we have 3 commercial off-the-shelf solutions that we have developed in-house that we then implement for the government. So we got started back in 1997 when we created GenTax, which is a tax processing solution. After that, in 2009, we created Fast UI and Fast DSVS. So UI is the unemployment insurance and benefits solution that I had mentioned, and then DSVS is for driver and vehicle services. So our teams work side by side. The government employees, we move right inside of their offices to replace their older legacy systems and implement our product to make their processes faster, more efficient, and ultimately allow them to provide better services to the public. And something a little unique about FAST is that our employees are relocating every 2 to 3 years on average to different locations across the US. So we're really looking for candidates that are flexible in regards to starting location and locations there afterwards. So whether a project has ended or someone's skill set is needed elsewhere, they're off to a new location working with another team of FAST employees at a different government agency. And hiring has not slowed down for us. So we are lucky, and I'm very grateful for the industry that we do work in. We are still continuously hiring for entry-level positions, specifically our implementation consultant position. And so there are a few other things that still have not changed. So one of them is you'll still go through an interview process. And even though the process may look different than it would have before, you'll still go through that same vetting process, and really the meat of the interview will be the same. So you'll want to make sure that your resume is in tip-top shape, and you'll still need to practice and prepare for your interviews. Just because how the process is executed has changed, that does not mean that the process itself will change. And at FAST, we typically have our in-person final round interviews. Oh, they're now virtual, and they would typically be in person. But we've been able to find ways to still administer the same type of logic problems and coding problems virtually as we would in person. And people are networking. So we, are living during a time where we have so many great online resources that are available to help network with professionals all over the world. So take advantage of that. People now more than ever are ready to help each other. And a lot of opportunities may not be advertised, and networking is a great way to meet people within a company that could lead to opportunities in the future. And we'll get more into networking in a bit. So there are some changes that have been made to the hiring process, and it's really not as drastic as you may have thought. While we were trying to think of this list, it was challenging to come up with what has changed because everything is still very similar. The delivery just may be different. So most processes are virtual. As I mentioned, most interviews that were held in person previously are going to be virtual video interviews. And later in this presentation, we'll give you our best tips on how to navigate a virtual interview. And the market will likely be more competitive. Since there are less jobs and more job seekers, the market will probably be more competitive, and we'll give some tips on how to stand out during the job search. And how you work may change. Your onboarding and training in a new role may look a little different during this time. It's most likely going to be remote, and you may have not been expecting that, but that may be the only option for now. And you may not get to see where you're going to work during the interview process, but you'll still be able to meet your team during the interview process, and it will still be a good opportunity to ask them questions about the workplace culture and make sure that it's a place that you would like to work. It's important to be adaptable and do the best you can to learn as you start your new job or internship. And recruiting events have changed. So at FAST, we do almost all of our recruiting events in person and on campus. However, that's no longer possible right now. So we've been hosting a variety of recruiting events virtually to still meet prospective hires. And many companies are doing very similar events. So take advantage of the opportunity to attend these events from the comfort of your own home. And there's a level of uncertainty. So there's always a sense of uncertainty in some professions, but this time it's in particular, it's important to ensure that you have a skill set that will allow you to have a job long term. So there may be less jobs in certain fields. You may have been set on a company and were excited to apply for a certain role, and they may not be hiring anymore. You may have had a job offer and planned on starting with them, but now they've rescinded that job offer. Your start date might be pushed back or changed and not start when you expected to. And I understand it's scary to have that uncertainty, but you need to remember what you can control and really focus on how you can move forward. For example, your dream company might not be hiring anymore, but keep your options open and consider other companies that are still hiring. This may end up being a dream company for you too. And even if you're not currently looking for a job, we don't know when things will go back to normal. So it's important to have these skills and how to job search. So when you are needing a job or internship, you'll know some strategies to be successful. Okay, so now we're going to cover the job search and how you can navigate it online. So for some tips for your search, the first thing to do is to prepare. Just as you devote time to homework, you should set some time aside for job hunting. It can honestly be a full-time job itself looking for a job. So don't think that it will come super easy. It's important to consider what you want in a job and what you need. Maybe due to this pandemic, your wants and needs have changed. Maybe it's really important for you to be near family now, or maybe you want to switch career paths to make a difference in a different way. Give yourself some time to think about your wants and needs so that you can focus more on what companies you truly want to work for and would be happy at. And start to think like a professional. So that means updating your voicemail, social media, email addresses. So you shouldn't have like soccer superstar at gmail.com anymore, or any of those types of email addresses that I know I had when I was younger. And take this time to clean up your digital presence to make sure when someone Googles you that you know what they'll find and if you want them to find that. And do your research. I can't stress this enough. So research industries. Find out what industries are hiring more versus others. Be adaptable with the location that you're willing to be in, especially if you're struggling to find opportunities in your ideal area. And broaden your search. So don't just be looking at big name companies, because they might not be hiring the same like they used to be. And think back to considering companies that are essential businesses, but may not be what you immediately consider an essential business, as I mentioned with FAST. Follow companies on social media and use sites to see their culture. So look for some recruiting events that companies may be hosting so that you can have the opportunity to network with them. And network. So utilize all opportunities you can to network with people, whether that's friends, family, relatives, neighbors, professors, past employers. There's career fairs going on that are virtual. So, you have to think outside of the box, because in-person career fairs in the fall may not be possible. So you have to still find ways to find out what companies are hiring. And broadcast yourself. So let people know that you're looking for a new position. They may have a connection that will help you. And on your LinkedIn profile, you can indicate that you're looking for new opportunities, and we'll cover that in a little bit as well. And be proactive. Now more than ever, you need to be more proactive. Talk to career services. They're still working remotely, and they're there to help you to be successful. Many companies have reached out to career services to get a job filled, so they may know about an opportunity that isn't posted. And contact employers. Reach out to human resources to let them know that you applied and you're excited to hear back and would love to be considered in the future if nothing is available now. And check back even if you have been turned down in the past, even if it's an internship or past job opportunities. Don't be annoying by consistently asking for a job, but see what you can improve upon if there will be opportunities in the future. And stand out in a good way. So you need to stand out now more than ever. There are less jobs available and more job seekers. So it's important to prioritize quality over quantity of applications. This is not the time to send out 100 applications and see what happens. I know I've spoken with students in the past that they wanted to get their response ratio up from, they apply to hundreds of job opportunities and maybe they only heard back from 30% of them. But that really should not be your goal. Your goal should be to really put in the time and effort into each application and do your research on the company and the job opportunity to make sure it's something that you're interested in. That will pay off a lot more in the long run. So you should be tailoring your resume and cover letter and application to each job and that company to truly show your best self. And take this time to work on your resume. Have career services look it over. Have friends look it over. Send cover letters to employers, even if it's optional, because it can definitely be a differentiator. Obtain internships or shadowing experiences. So this time we're in can be a good time to pick the brain of professionals you're aspiring to be like. And be professional in your email communication. We sometimes turn candidates down for this. If they're sending emails with poor grammar, Not having, openers such as hello, so-and-so, and then closer, best regards in their name and contact info. Having poor written communication is a red flag. And make it as easy for employers as possible. So don't make them go through steps that you should be doing, such as at a career fair, someone brought a business card with the link to their resume instead of bringing their resume. So we're not going to go out of our way to look it up. And where can you search for a job? So the best place to start is with your career service department. Employers post jobs to your school's job board that are a fit for entry-level students. And if you don't have a resume, they probably have resume templates to use to build your resume. So this can be a great time to get ahead. And again, just making sure that you have the best resume possible. If employers are trying to fill a job quickly, they may have reached out to the Career Center directly to try to get interest going and see if they know of any students that could be a good fit. And since there are no career fairs, you may not get to meet employers in person, but career services are still available to help you. I know at FAST, we get many emails a day from different schools' career services to let us know that they're still helping students and still hosting events. And many of them are reaching out to employers to find out, if they're still hiring and what has changed in their interview process. And employers have added online events instead of in-person events. So career services is the one to typically arrange these events. So keep an eye on what's being arranged at your school. And Glassdoor is a great resource to use to search for jobs. Not only are jobs posted there, but you can check out company reviews and what current and past employees of companies are saying about working there. So it's a great opportunity to get an insight into the work culture, the day-to-day, their reviews on benefits, compensation, interviewing, again, a lot on company culture. So I would highly recommend using Glassdoor. And then definitely LinkedIn is a good resource to use to job search. If you create a profile using the information from your resume, LinkedIn will find jobs that are related directly to your background. And many companies use LinkedIn to headhunt people with technical skills, so they may reach out to you. It's actually how I came to FAST. I was on LinkedIn. I have an active profile, as many recruiters do, and a recruiter from FAST had reached out to me. And at the time, I wasn't actively looking for a job, and their message, about the company and opportunity just intrigued me so much that I needed to learn more. So again, if you have an active profile on LinkedIn, then opportunities could reach out to you. So let's dive a little bit more into LinkedIn. So you can show that you're open to new opportunities on LinkedIn for recruiters to see. And you can update your profile to indicate this. So there are two ways of doing this. One is right under your header here. You can show recruiters you're open to job opportunities. And then another way of doing this is under Add Profile section, under Intro, you can select that you're looking for job opportunities. And then you can also add job preferences, so such as job titles. I would definitely recommend in putting a few job titles in here, because we know that there are typically multiple titles to one role, such as software engineer, could also be called software developer, programmer, just like a recruiter could be called talent acquisition, technical recruiter, campus recruiter, and so on. You can also list the locations that you're open to. So you can list up to 5 locations. You can just select the whole country if you're open to nationwide. If you're looking for areas around an entire city, you could put in greater areas such as greater Boston area or greater New York City area. You're unable to select regions, but you can select states located in a certain region. And then you can also select what type of job you're open to. So if you're looking for full-time, and if you're also open to contract positions, you can select those off there. And then you can also select who can see that you're open to new jobs. So this isn't so relevant to those of you still in your college careers and looking for new jobs. This would be more so after graduation and you're already in a position and you want to start to look around for a new opportunity. You may not want your coworkers or recruiters at your current company to know that you're looking. So you could just select off only recruiters so that they can't see that you're open to new opportunities. And then you can also become a groupie. So LinkedIn has many different groups that you can join to network with professionals. So join groups that are relevant to your industry. Connect instantly with professionals and industry specific to what you're interested in. Groups can be similar to an ongoing online networking event. They post relevant content, and I would suggest, staying active in these groups. It could definitely be a great way to be more active in your industry's community and try to start building a network. And you can search for jobs just by going to the search tab in LinkedIn, and you can search by groups. And then build your network. So 80% of job openings are actually never advertised. Early on, quality over quantity is okay. Start with classmates, professors, teaching assistants, family, friends, work colleagues, past and present. Over time, you can broaden your connections to include a larger set of family and friends, coworkers, people you meet at conferences. Once you get over 50 connections, ideally from different rather than overlapping circles, you begin to really put in that network effect for you. And when you send a connection request, if it's not someone that you know well or have worked with in the past, make sure that you personalize it. So many people actually reject requests otherwise. And understand that many recruiters may not accept your request or connection. This is their professional network. So unless you start working at their company, they may not accept it. And this is a good rule of thumb for anyone to focus on building your professional network over sending invitations to everyone that you met. You might not be aware of this, but if one too many people respond to your invitation by clicking ignore, and then I don't know this person, you'll end up having your account restricted by LinkedIn. This will mean that you'll then have to know the email address of each person you send any future LinkedIn invitations to, and greatly reduce your ability to connect with prospects and expand your network. And stay active. So similar to Facebook, you can update your status as often as you like, but of course, LinkedIn is very different than Facebook. So keep the content professional and appropriate. It's definitely a way for you to stand out by staying active. So whether you write an article and you post it on there, or you're commenting and joining discussions off of what others have written, it's definitely a good idea to keep your profile up to date as well as the content that you're sharing. Okay, so LinkedIn isn't the only way to network online. You could send an email to an old neighbor, connect with someone that you met at a conference, and you'll need to utilize your current contacts. So, such as alumni. Schools usually have alumni associations. So it's a great opportunity to network with past grads to see what they did after graduation and if they have any suggestions for you. You could join local professional associations, such as Association for Computer Machinery or whatever is directly related to the industry that you're interested in. And then you utilize the contacts you already know. Again, friends, family, professors, past employers, and coworkers. But don't be afraid to put yourself out there. I understand it can be intimidating to put yourself out there and reach out to people about career opportunities, but this is really the time for you to go for it. We're all busy. we're all looking for ways to stay busy. So now's the perfect time to reach out to people and see if they would be interested in chatting with you. And set up, maybe virtual coffee chats because we can't meet in person right now. Now more than ever, I've had so many candidates reaching out to me on LinkedIn, asking if, I have time to connect with them and tell them more about the opportunity. And those that really stand out to me is, those that add a personal touch on their message, but also maybe asking if I'd be available for a virtual coffee chat or something like that. It shows that they're really adapting to these times that we're in. Okay, so now you have the confidence to reach out to your industry professionals, but what do you even say? And people get in their heads too much about networking. Networking is no different than making friends with people. So when you reach out, make your message unique to each person. Don't make a generic message that you send to everyone. Look at their profile and include why you're specifically interested in speaking with them. Maybe they went to the same school as you, or they have a career path that's of interest to you, or maybe they majored in the same major that you did. And don't expect an opportunity to come from talking with them. So you should use this as an opportunity to pick someone's brain and get tips on how to be successful in their industry. So networking is really a long-term game. You utilize your network years later. If you're making a new friend or new acquaintance, you should wait at least a year before asking anything of them. If you ask for something sooner, you could risk ruining the relationship. Make sure your message reflects this approach to the conversation. And make yourself as available to them as possible. So they're the ones taking time to speak with you to give you tips. So be as respectful of their time as possible. Include that you'd like to set up a time to chat with them to hear about their background and any tips that they have for someone in your position. And then when you have a call with them, start with some small talk. So the best way to make a connection and relationship is by finding some common ground. So what do you have in common that can really lay the foundation of this connection that you're trying to build upon? So learn about that person and hear about how they're doing, how they're staying busy through this time at home. Have a list of questions prepared beforehand so that the conversation doesn't get awkward. Prior to your conversation, think of some topics that you'd like to discuss or questions that you have for them. If you don't end up using them, that's fine. At least you had a list ready to go if you need it. And focus on listening. So this is an opportunity for you to listen and take in the information. Make sure you're not taking over the conversation, but also balancing that out with contributing to it. So now we're going to dive into the virtual job search and some tips. So virtual interviews are probably the biggest change that you've seen in the job search right now. Our entire hiring process is now online and there's no in-person interaction. Not much has changed as far as how the interview will work, even though it's virtual. And there are still a lot of different types of interviews: structured, unstructured, panel interviews, behavioral interviews. So you'll still need to prepare and practice your interview questions. So some of our top tips include: treat it exactly like an in-person interview. So dress professionally. Even though this is video and you're probably in your own home, that doesn't mean that you can wear loungewear. So you'll still need to dress professional and show your best self for the interview. I've had candidates wearing just exercise clothes or sweatshirts, even though they're aware that it's a video interview. And it definitely sets the interview off in sort of a negative tone, showing that they didn't put in the effort to dress professionally. And practice your interview answers before the interview. It can be helpful to actually video yourself prior to the interview to see if you have any quirks while answering. And if you practice, you'll also be more comfortable with answering the questions. So again, just as you would prepare for a typical in-person interview, you'll still want to be prepared for those interview questions that you could be expecting, such as tell me about yourself, or where do you see yourself in 5 years, your strengths, your weaknesses. Those questions that start off with tell me about a time when. You'll still want to be prepared for answering those. And do your research. So you'll still need to do your research beforehand, research the company, the position itself, the company culture. I can't stress this enough to do that research, because again, that's definitely a turnoff by employers if you're now in the interview stage and you're unable to say anything about what the company does. And with it being virtually, as a recruiter, we can tell if you're looking up information during the interview and not really paying attention to the questions that I'm asking. So you want to show your best self, and being the most prepared is a great way to do that. And make a designated interview spot. So if you were actually going in for an in-person interview, you would go into that location of the interview. With a virtual interview, you should do something similar. If you're moving to a whole different space, it actually puts you in a different mindset and ready for that interview. And have a professional background. So keep in mind that the other person will see your background, and try to keep it a neutral background that's organized and free from clutter. And I know we're all in our homes and we're having to adapt to this. You probably weren't expecting to having to be on video so much, and maybe you don't have the most ideal spot. I think as long as you put in the effort to find a neutral setting as best as possible, free from distraction, and organized, that's really the best thing to do. And so make sure your interview spot is free from distractions. Keep any animals out of the room. You don't want your cat or dog making an appearance in your video. If you can choose a separate room where you can close the door, that's definitely ideal. Let your roommates know. So if you live with any roommates, let them know that you have an interview so that they don't accidentally enter the room, and that they can make sure that the noise level is down. And bring up any concerns you have ahead of time. So regarding maybe your Wi-Fi connection can be poor at times, or maybe your neighbor's dog can be loud at times, I would just let the recruiter know ahead of time before the interview that this is going on, so that during the interview, if you don't say anything about it, it doesn't look like you're just trying to ignore it. And don't have distractions on your computer. Again, as an interviewer, we can definitely tell if you're not paying attention. So you want to be fully prepared for anything and not distracted. I know sometimes, I get distracted when I hear little pings and different things from the candidate screen. One time it actually sounded like somebody was playing a video game. I hope that's not the case, but just the amount of noise and distraction from the candidate, I wasn't sure. So it was definitely distracting for me as well. And ensure that your audio and video work prior to the interview. So it would be terrible to log on to the meeting and all of a sudden your audio isn't working and you're really scrambling to get it to work. Make sure your camera is adjusted correctly. We don't want to be seeing up your nose or if you're not centered on the screen. I spoke to a candidate once, and the camera was very, very zoomed in on their face, and it was honestly just uncomfortable for the both of us. And be aware of video and sound lag. So sometimes there's a lag, and it might be helpful to pause before you respond because you might be talking over the other person. And I think this happens a lot with video calls, so definitely be aware of that, and just make sure that you're letting the interviewer finish speaking before you start speaking. And have good lighting so that the interviewer can see you. Again, this happens a lot. I will have an interview and the candidate will be very dark and it's difficult for me to see them. And remember that you're on camera. Don't forget this. I'm sure we've all heard stories of people embarrassing themselves. Maybe somebody, is standing up and they just have boxers on or something like that. There's so many of those stories out there. So just remember that you are on camera. And asking the right questions. So this is a great opportunity for you to see how a company would handle a situation like this. It may even show their true colors and make you either really want to work for them or stay away as much as possible. You have the opportunity to ask good questions to ensure that you know about the company's culture and how much they value their employees. It's okay to ask these questions, and it's okay to wonder what they're doing. This is just as much them interviewing you as you are interviewing them. Actions definitely speak louder than words. So for a few questions you could ask is, how is your company adapting to the pandemic? Will my start date be impacted? What can I expect from the work environment? Answering the questions right. How have you spent your time at home? What have you learned about yourself during this time? So there are great questions, but don't forget to ask your regular questions. Make sure this is a company that you want to work for a long time, and that you want to make sure to ask the questions that you need to. There also might be a change in the types of questions employers are asking you. So as I mentioned, those last two on the screen. So it's important to consider how you should answer some of these questions and prepare to answer these types of questions well. Other considerations to keep in mind. So stay in contact with people. With your current contacts, it can be helpful to keep in contact with them when you're searching because they may know about opportunities. If you're in the recruiting process with a company, make sure to check in with them. Check in with your recruiter to see what to expect from the process. If you haven't heard back from them in a while, it's okay to reach out and ask for an update. They might not be hiring anymore, so it's definitely helpful for you to know. And some companies might move faster than others, so make sure to be patient and understanding. And with your onboarding, make sure to stay in contact with your prospective employer. If you've accepted an offer for a job or internship, have you reached out to them to confirm your start date? Some companies are having to rescind offers, so if you haven't heard from them yet, it's important for you to reach out to make sure you can still start. And be adaptable. This is a word that we are hearing over and over again with everything going on, but it's true. I mean, we need to be flexible and adaptable and open-minded during this time. The interview process has changes, and it's not only new for you, it's new for companies as well. So keep this in mind and know that it's a work in process. And be adaptable to your role. If you've accepted a job offer, you may not have expected to start working remotely, but again, it may be the only option now. So have an open mind with how your work will look and be adaptable to how your work will look like. And there's really no clear end to this pandemic, so we'll still need to be adaptable to the future. This may continue into the fall, and it may not be possible to attend career fairs. So it's important to prepare yourself now for the potential that this will continue. And take this time to make yourself more marketable. There are good resources out there that you can use to grow your skill set in certain areas. Webinars, skill-based websites, articles are all over the internet for you to utilize. There's also been a lot of new resources that become free because of companies are being more understanding during this time. So take advantage of that. Again, get your resume, cover letter, and interview skills ready. Ask career services to help you. Ask friends, family, co-workers to help maybe look over your resume and cover letter, or help practice your interviewing skills. And get your references prepared. So employers may be using references now more than ever because they have more applicants for fewer jobs. So it's important to consider what references you're including to make sure that you're showing your best self. So this new normal is going to be challenging and it's going to be hard to navigate, but we want to encourage you to stay positive and keep going. A recruiter wrote some advice on LinkedIn for the upcoming graduating class. Starting a career is hard. It's complicated. There's no magic pill. There will be a lot of rejection and ghosting, and at some point, it starts to feel personal. The only thing I can say is that it isn't personal, and you just have to do what you need to do to stay optimistic. Searching for a job can be a great distraction and give you some structure. So if you stop applying, there's a 0 chance of you getting the job. This is also a good reminder that you have a lot to offer. And if one company rejects you, that doesn't mean that the next company won't see the value you can provide. But even if a position isn't a good fit for you, pay it forward. Maybe you know someone that would be interested in a role, in that role, and they could be a good fit for it. So pass it on to them. You can help classmates by reviewing resumes, help practice interviewing, help test their equipment before a virtual interview. I know on my recruiting team, we were doing that quite a bit when this all started because we are doing so many, virtual interviews and events now. And it's a great time to help each other out in any way that we can. So make the most of this time. Now is a time where you can gain new skills, maybe post online tutorial classes to teach someone else a new skill. It will help you keep up your skills and help people learn. Maybe a year from now, someone you helped learn to code is working at a company that needs a software developer. Who are they going to think about in the future for that job opportunity? Probably the person that offered to teach them a new skill previously. So you're capitalizing on this so that you will get noticed, and in the future it could pay off. So as I mentioned, we are still hiring at FAST. And if you're interested, here are a few ways to find out more information. Maybe these positions aren't relevant to what you're looking for, but you might know someone that would be a good fit. So as I mentioned, we are a software consulting company, and so we look for candidates that really have a mix of coding and consulting, or I should say have coding experience, but also have an interest to use their communication skills and work with clients. So if you or you might know somebody that could be interested, this is where you can find out more information. We are pretty active on our social media sites, so please check us out. Check out Glassdoor, read our reviews of what current and past employees have to say about working at FAST. And also here's the link where you can apply directly. So thank you so much for listening in to the virtual job search, and I wish you all the best of luck. Stay positive. We will all get through this, and I wish you all the best. Take care.